develop digital transformation program. Hello, good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living has spent a total of 30 million ringgit on rahma sales, benefiting 1.1 million people nationwide as of June. Well, Deputy Minister Fuzia Saleh said buyers would not only benefit from subsidized prices, but also enjoy much better discounts through the initiative.
Jadi daripada mula bajet itu diturunkan pada pertengahan April sehingga 30 Jun, 30 juta ringgit sudah pun dibelanjakan daripada 100 juta itu. InsyaAllah kita akan teruskan, pastikan ianya akan terus dilaksanakan sehingga habis 100 juta itu dan doakan kita akan dapat bajet yang lebih banyak tahun depan.
Fuzia was speaking to reporters after launching the Rahma Sales Carnival in Laman Warisan Kampung Laut in Tumpat today. She said the Rahma Sales initiative was aimed at helping targeted groups through subsidies provided by the government. On another matter, Fuzia said the ministry has held talks with several formula milk powder manufacturers to resolve the issue of recent price hikes for the product. Well, the new premium rate for the green electricity tariff for GET program is set at 21.8 cent per kilowatt hour starting 1st of August. Well, Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change Minister Nazmi Ahmad said the current GET premium rate is 3.7 cent per kilowatt hour for the period of the 1st to 31st July. Nazmi said the decision on the new tariff was based on the benchmark for setting the retail price of green electricity supply.
Tarif baru GET ditetapkan pada kadar 21.8 sen kilowatt jam iaitu berdasarkan kepada penanda aras penetapan harga runcit bekalan elektrik hijau di negara-negara jiran yang menawarkan produk yang serupa. Ketiga, kaedah penetapan tarif serta kadar tarif premium baharu ini akan berkuat kuasa pada 1 Ogos 2023. Kadar tarif premium GET sedia ada iaitu 3.7 sen kilowatt jam akan dikekalkan dari 1 Julai 2023 sehingga 31 Julai 2023. Oleh itu, pihak TNB akan melakukan penyesuaian terhadap bil elektrik bagi pengguna elektrik yang terlibat.
Nazmi said GET customers are not charged the imbalance cost pass-through or ICPT as it does not involve the use of fossil fuels. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today said that the collaboration between the Malaysian government and the founder and chief executive officer of Tesla Incorporated and SpaceX, Elon Musk, will create tens of thousands of skilled job opportunities in the country. Well, he said this comes after Musk agreed to make significant investments in Malaysia, including setting up Tesla headquarters in Cyberjaya. Datuk Seri Anwar said Musk himself conveyed the matter to him during the virtual meeting today. He added Musk also agreed to collaborate with the government involving his company SpaceX, the satellite internet service, Starlink and electric vehicles, EV.
Beliau memilih Malaysia sebagai salah satu pusat penting dan bersetuju untuk memulakan pergerakan ibu pejabat. Kegiatan beliau di Cyberjaya dia akan beroperasi dalam semasa sesingkat mungkin. Kegiatan EV akan ditingkatkan melalui Tesla dan Starlink yang merupakan kemudahan akses internet yang lebih demokratik menjurus kepada isu kemanusiaan dan dia hanya dapat menyediakan peringkat awalnya 40 kemudahan itu yang boleh kita letakkan di kampung-kampung, universiti, college dan sebagainya, tetapi dia beri pengakuan untuk memberi arahan supaya menjadikan Malaysia ini sebagai suatu pusat atau negeri yang penting diberikan tumpuan.
The Prime Minister said this at the 2024 budget engagement session held in Putrajaya today. The virtual meeting, which began at 9:30 a.m., lasted about 25 minutes. Last Friday, Dato Sri Anwar reportedly said that he would hold a virtual meeting with Musk this week to discuss the possibility for the EV company to invest in Malaysia. Meanwhile, Dato Sri Anwar said the government aims to expedite implementation of initiatives announced under the 2023 budget. The Prime Minister said 188 billion ringgit, or 49% of the overall budget, had been spent as of June.
Dalam belanjawan 2023, umpamanya, setakat Jun 2023, 188 bilion ringgit telah pun dibelanjakan, iaitu 49% daripada peruntukan, lebih tinggi ketimbang perbelanjaan sebenar tempoh yang sama tahun lalu. Maknanya ada perubahan, ya. Pelaksanaan, kecepatan, kepantasan pelaksanaan jauh lebih baik daripada tahun-tahun sebelumnya, tetapi saya telah beritahu dan beri arahan belum cukup memuaskan kerana kita harus menjangkau lebih 60% untuk bulan Ogos. Peruntukan RM100,000 kepada semua jurutera daerah untuk melaksanakan pembaikan kecil di peringkat daerah. Ini proyek-proyek kecil ni, apa dia? Baiki tanda sekolah yang hampir keseluruhannya tidak baik. Itu mesti disegerakan. Dan ini termasuklah rumah pasukan tentera kita. Jadi saya telah luluskan untuk core kejuruteraan RM200 juta supaya mereka dapat laksanakan segera untuk baiki. Bukan buat rumah baru, bukan betulkan struktur, baiki ke rumah-rumah yang bocor ataupun tandas yang rosak.
The Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC, in collaboration with the Federal Land Development Authority, FELDA, is committed to developing the FELDA-MDEC Digital Transformation Program to realize the Digital Madani initiative. Well, MDEC said that the initiative is to improve the quality of life, preserve welfare, and thus drive the economic growth of FELDA settlers. Elaborating further through a statement release, MDEC said through the digitalization, the corporation will continue to implement the existing SAHIH digital campaign within the FELDA regions through specific trainings to empower digital skills, digital adaptation, and empower FELDA settlers to generate more sustainable income. Meanwhile, FELDA, in the same statement, aims for 10,000 participants to join the SAHIH digital campaign by empowering 30 digital economy centres, also known as PEDI, within the FELDA regions to facilitate participation in online training courses. It also said that FELDA settlers have the opportunity to explore gig jobs provided in the global online workforce, known as GLOW program, as well as help grow businesses, increase efficiency and productivity to generate income through the e-Usahawan initiative. Asean, China, Japan and South Korea should strengthen cooperation. That and more coming up in our foreign segment.
Majlis Pelancaran Bulan Kebangsaan dan Kibar Jalur Gemilang diadakan pada 16 Julai 2023 bertempat di Bulatan Sultan Azlan Shah, Ipoh, Perak pada jam 9 pagi. Pelbagai acara menarik turut diadakan, antaranya Forum Perdana Ehwal Islam, 6,600 langkah perpaduan, pameran dan perkhidmatan agensi kerajaan, kuis kenegaraan, persembahan nyanyian dan kebudayaan, pertandingan bintang patriotik, jualan rahma, jualan barangan runcit dan buah-buahan, food truck dan banyak lagi. Turut diadakan acara pelepasan konvoi kembara Merdeka Jalur Gemilang sempena sambutan Hari Kebangsaan dan Hari Malaysia 2023. Layari www.merdeka360.my untuk maklumat lanjut.
Well, Malaysia Tonight continues. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, known as ASEAN, and China, Japan, and South Korea should strengthen their cooperation and jointly meet challenges. When attending the ASEAN Plus 3 or APT Foreign Ministers meeting, the director of the Office of the Central Commission for Foreign Affairs, Wang Yi, said the APT is one of the most mature mechanisms for East Asia regional cooperation. Now, the director called on the regional countries to push for economic recovery, and China has provided support for economic and technological cooperation under the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, and help ASEAN countries enhance their abilities to implement the RCEP free trade deal. Wang urged the regional countries to promote sustainable development, and he also appealed to the regional countries to resume personal exchanges. Commenting further, the senior Chinese diplomat also called for an increase in commercial flights between countries in the region and an orderly resumption of inbound tourism. Well, a Japanese rocket engine exploded during a test in the latest blow to the country's space agency. Now, Science and Technology Ministry official Naoya Takegami said that the Epsilon S, an improved version of the Epsilon rocket that failed to launch in October, blew up roughly 50 seconds after ignition. Now, the malfunction comes after Tokyo in March saw its second attempt to launch its next-generation H-3 rocket fail after liftoff and after the failed launch of the solid-fuel Epsilon in October. Now, that was Japan's first failed launch in nearly 2 decades and the only one for an Epsilon rocket, a model that has flown 5 successful missions since its 2013 debut. In both incidents, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, also known as JAXA, was forced to send self-destruct orders to the rockets. The Epsilon is smaller than the country's previous liquid-fueled model and a successor to the solid-fuel M5 rocket that was retired in 2006 due to its high cost. JAXA said in May that the cause of the failed launch in October was a defect in pipes that carry fuel. Now, Japan plans to launch the Epsilon S rocket next year, and the country's space program is one of the world's largest. Coming up in sports, Ziyad wins silver at World Championships, qualifies for 2024 Paris Paralympics.
Perkembangan kognitif dan pertumbuhan fizikal kanak-kanak sihat yang optimum bertitik tolak dari 1000 hari pertama kehidupan.
Well, national shot put ace Muhammad Ziyad Zulkifli has successfully secured a spot at the Paris Paralympic Games 2024 after winning silver in the men's shot put F20 or intellectual disability event at the 2023 World Para Athletics Championships in Paris yesterday. This success also made Muhammad Ziyad the first Malaysian para-athlete to qualify based on merit for the Paralympics, which takes place every 4 years. At the championships held at the Charlotte Stadium, the 33-year-old athlete hurled the iron ball to a distance of 17.21 meters, but was unable to defeat his challenger from Ukraine, Maxim Koval, who took home the gold. Koval made a throw of 17.57 meters to claim the gold, while his teammate Alexander Yarovri secured the bronze with a throw of 16.99 meters. According to the International Paralympic Committee's regulations, the top 4 athletes at the 2023 World Para Athletics Championships qualify for the Paris Paralympic Games next year. The Selection Committee of the Olympic Council of Malaysia, OCM, has relaxed the selection criteria for the Hangzhou Asian Games in China by allowing category B2 to compete, giving more than 300 national athletes the opportunity to participate in the Games. Committee Chairman Tan Sri Mohammad Norza Zakaria said that initially only 222 athletes met the selection criteria for the Games scheduled from 23rd September to 8th October after OCM had set stricter conditions. Previously, it only included 118 athletes for Category A, which equates to the top 4 positions at the 2018 Jakarta Palembang Asian Games, and 104 athletes for Category B1 for those whose performance would have placed them 5th or 6th in the 2018 edition. However, Tan Sri Muhammad Norzan said after examining appeals from several sports involving 83 athletes, OCM agreed to allow 79 athletes to represent the country in category B2 if they equal the 7th or 8th position in the last edition, thus increasing the final total to 301 people. However, the exact size of the national contingent will only be finalized tomorrow. And now we move on to our next edition of our bulletin, On the Table. Over to you, Mohana.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. On the table tonight, we are going to be looking at current economic data and its effect on Malaysia and the region. With me is Distinguished Professor of Economics at the Asia-Europe Institute, University of Malaya, Professor Dr. Raja Rasia. Thank you so much, Prof, for being on the table with us today. Now, let's begin with an interesting development that happened just today. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim held a virtual call with Elon Musk to discuss Tesla's investment in Malaysia and SpaceX satellite communication service. Now, Prof, what do you think this collaboration would bring to the country? I mean, Tesla already has a strong presence in Shanghai, and Musk has also met with Indonesian President Joko Widodo on another joint venture there. So apart from job opportunities, what else can we expect?
I see it as an exceptional opportunity because not only that Elon Musk is arguably the richest man in the world, he's connected to a high technology industry, aerospace, not just aerospace, but a wide range of technologies that come with that, including digitization, and so on. So my feeling is typical in the way multinationals, with the potential that they bring, is to see how national policy not just opens up the space for us to appropriate those synergies by way of his assembly of, which is what is more or less promising, of EV vehicles, including chargers all over Malaysia, but more so, I think, how we can benefit from our own attempt, Malaysia's own attempt, to develop an aerospace industry with 1 billion ringgit allocated under the 12th Malaysia Plan. We also know that Indonesia and Philippines are also headed in the same sort of direction. So I think what we should do is to see how his timeline, his strategy here can be connected to how we develop our capabilities. In doing so, we can't expect, say, Tesla to bring Elon Musk to bring all these technologies here. No, we need to see that the aerospace industry that we are developing, we have important people here, including arguably one of the most successful service providers of drone, Aerodyne. Aerodyne is classified either 1 or 2 now, and I'm sure they were 1 at some point. So my feeling is we need to see our plan, our policies connected with that sort of routing so that we can actually benefit from the investment far more than just having jobs.
So moving on from that, some new economic data, very interesting data that we've been seeing over the past few days now. Weaker than expected CPI numbers from the US. The US dollar has weakened to a new 18-month low. What does this mean for the ringgit, and what can we expect?
Well, for a long time, we had this effect of the U.S. economy sucking up all this liquidity because it was raising interest rates to cap inflation until it got up to 5.25%. And we also know that interest rates in Singapore are higher. Even foreign banks, they offer 3.5 to 3.8%. We had it at 3%, the OPR. Britain is 5%. Now, I think we don't have the problem of having to cap inflation. The last time the figure was given was 2.8%. So we don't really have a problem of heavy or runaway inflation here. And therefore, I think the decision made by the government in not raising OPR, because it obviously burdens those people who borrow. It's just like the US. Housewives, this is from households, not just housewives, but also small businesses go out of business. At 5.25, when Ben Bernanke was advising, was the Fed chief, the whole U.S. economy imploded. That was the beginnings of the global financial crisis that started there in 2007, finished in 2008, but we felt it 2008 to 2009. So my own feeling is it's nowhere to go now at 5.25%. We will probably have not only that in the US they will squeeze economic agents, which includes particularly the small guys, households and so on, but how else are you going to now try to generate an economy that's stagnating? Again, that's part of the reason why we have falling current account surpluses, because the US economy and Britain are largely not growing. So they're not absorbing exports from here. So that has that sort of rippling effect. So I think the decision coming from what they have done not to raise the OPR is a good one, because it would only burdens the poor.
Circling back to the OPR, now Bank Negara Malaysia maintained, as we know, the overnight policy rate at 3%. Meanwhile, the cooling of US inflation is indicating that the US Federal Reserve will pause rate hikes after this month. If so, how will this pause of rate hikes have an effect here, also in the region? If you could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like what I explained just now. One has to recognize that the Fed has already recognized that at 5.25%, it's really arguably high. And that was the percentage that resulted in the implosion of the US economy in 2007. Now we have a situation, and again, we also have lots of stories of bank closures, not just small firms closing businesses, households going unable to pay their mortgage rates, showing elements of bankruptcy, but also the fact that at that sort of rate, you are actually seeing a situation where the economy can only contract. It's not going to help anyone. Now, in terms of our own response, it's good that on the one hand, we are not really interventionists. At least this government is not very interventionist. It's leaving it to the central bank to make decisions. But the second one is the fact that we are worried also about the poor. As it is now, there was lots of concerns, including by this government, to mention that a lot of those fellows who were in the M40 are already more or less in the B60. So if we are seriously concerned about them, and development is about them largely, then these are things you have to hold. Otherwise, they'll have to have much more payments out of their taxable income. In fact, many of them will go into debt. We also know that for a while, people were just withdrawing all the money from the EPF, even to the point, because the EPF is meant for old age. And you withdraw completely out of that, what do you do at old age? So these are signs to show that I think the decision to keep it at 3%, again, without the intervention of the government, is a good one, I think.
Okay. Now, Malaysia's GDP grew at 5.6% in Q1 of this year, 2023. Are you expecting Q2 data to reflect the same kind of growth momentum?
Projections before this, including by us, not just by the IMF or the World Bank, didn't put it beyond 4.5 for the whole year. This is a cumulative growth. If it's grown by 5.6%, any other growth will only add to that. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, it grew at 8.7%. It's quite exceptional, but that's only because we contracted before. Now, the concern is whether that sort of growth is going to overheat, whether that sort of growth is going to raise other figures like inflation and so on. These are problems that you will obviously encounter, but I do not think it is going to grow at 5.6% the next quarter. And I'm not the sort of guy who does this kind of forecast, and I don't have with me the statistics to even model that if I wanted to. But I think to answer you bluntly, I do not expect it to reach 5.6% in the next quarter.
All right. Now, Prof, you've done... You are known to do research, and we've done a lot of research and development. You've got students under you who are doing research currently. What are the signs that we are seeing right now when it comes to economic development, Malaysia, the region, and globally?
My feeling is, of course, these economies are coming out from the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course, the effect that we got from more so the economic sanctions imposed by the US, as well as the NATO countries and the allies on Russia. The contagion from there, I feel, meant that you had serious supply shortages. Russia is a major producer of oil, also food, and the materials that go into production of food, like fertilizers. So it's not only Russia, but Ukraine too. But I'm not taking sides to say whether Russia is right or not. That's not my job. But the sanction itself is not going to benefit anyone. That's my position. In fact, if you look at some of the lines from Biden, they're even considering buying oil. In fact, Jeffrey Sachs says they're already buying oil from Venezuela. Exchange in high seas. But I'm not saying that, but he's already talking about that. All reflections of the fact that economic tensions would not help. But coming back to Malaysia and Southeast Asia, I think they're doing the best they can. And my own feeling is the attempt by the Prime Minister to really, all the time, zoom in to say no corruption. I think that's a good one. But at the same time, he also shows in his Madani plans to see that the poor are protected.
Yeah.
And not just that, but to also review to see their due diligence done to see why certain parastatals fail. It's like FELDA. They've allocated, some say 9.9 billion, some say 10 billion.
Yes.
And that 8.3 of those billion is supposed to hold 80% of the loans now. Surely you cannot let FELDA go down.
Yeah.
So the strategies taken here reflect concern for the public, concern for the people.
Correct.
Of course, we can always judge. It's only 6 months now. My own feeling, the strategies adopted, implemented, to me looks good.
And I'm sure this will spill over into the upcoming budget.
Yes, I expect so. Yeah, of course.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So the geopolitical tensions that we are seeing with Russia and all that, we are not quite seeing it going calming anytime soon. So what are you expecting over the next few months?
Fortunately for us, our forefathers, both Tunku Abdul Rahman as well as Tun Abdul Razak, took a stand, Zokfan, zone of peace, friendship and neutrality. It means that we're not going to take sides to harm anyone. We play the role of a middle power, not taking sides anywhere, based on developmental goals. Just like in the 60s and the early 70s, we condemned apartheid. We did. And we were willing to visit Tun Razak, visited China. I think the approach taken now, unlike, say, the Vietnam War, everybody was sucked into this whole argument, this domino effect.
That's right.
In fact, communism is going to sweep through, we are all gone.
Yeah.
But that kind of argument no longer exists now. Apart from Singapore, I think the rest of them have taken a neutral stand now, that they'll make a decision to see what is good, rather than just following what a superpower says. So my own feeling is, of course, the geopolitical events led to a number of things, the China containment policy, and the fact that it's a question of starting this initiative from 2014 and then attracting a war. I think one should also listen to Jeffrey Sachs on these matters and the position Africa has taken.
And on that note, Prof, I think we'll have to call it a day.
Okay.
We are running out of time. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your insights with you. Thank you so much, Prof. Raja, for your valuable insights. I'm afraid that is all the time that we have for now. That wraps up Malaysia Tonight. I'm Mohana Priya with Muhammad Amin Carlos, Malaysia Madani, Tekad Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan. Thank you for your company. Good night.
Yeah, good night.